unveiling the ranks of power, the military and paramilitary forces behind Nazi Germany's atrocities. In the rise and fall of Nazi Germany, the military and paramilitary structures played pivotal roles in shaping not only the outcomes of battles, but also the implementation of one of the most horrific genocides in human history. The complex hierarchies within both the Wehrmacht and the SS allowed for the efficient execution of Adolf Hitler's vision for the Third Reich, each rank imbued with a distinct level of power and responsibility. To truly understand the function of these ranks, we must delve deeper into the mindset, responsibilities, and daily lives of the men who filled these positions. Through a blend of reminiscences, diary entries, and anecdotes, the true nature of these roles comes to light. This narrative is proudly brought to you by Polly Speaks For You. At Polly Speaks For You, we are committed to empowering individuals, especially those with disabilities or learning challenges, through innovative text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. Polly Speaks For You is more than just software. It's a tool for self-expression, connecting people with the world in meaningful ways. By blending the richness of history with cutting-edge technology, Polly Speaks For You demonstrates that every voice, whether preserving the past or shaping the future, has the potential to inspire. While we strive to make the story engaging, our primary focus is on storytelling itself. The visuals are secondary. We're showcasing the remarkable capabilities of text-to-speech software that bring these stories to life. The SS, enforcers of ideological purity. The Schutzstaffel, SS, was more than just a military force. It was the ideological arm of the Nazi regime, tasked with enforcing Hitler's racial policies and suppressing dissent. The SS had its roots as Hitler's personal bodyguard, but it evolved into a sprawling organization responsible for many of the Third Reich's darkest deeds. Its leader, Heinrich Himmler, held the title of Reichsführer SS, a rank equivalent to the highest in any military, but with an added layer of ideological power. In Himmler's own words, recorded in a chilling diary entry, "We will create a new world built on purity and strength. Weakness has no place here. It is my duty to see that this transformation is carried out." He was responsible for shaping the SS into a machine that would carry out the final solution, the extermination of Europe's Jews. While Himmler rarely participated in direct violence, his directives led to the deaths of millions. In speeches to his officers, he would coldly remark, "The task we carry out is hard, but necessary. History will thank us for our courage." This facade of duty cloaked the SS in a perverse sense of righteousness. Beneath Himmler were his trusted generals, such as SS Obergruppenführer Sepp Dietrich. Known for his close relationship with Hitler, Dietrich was a figure of both loyalty and brutality. In an anecdote from the early days of the war, Dietrich reportedly told his men before an operation in Poland, "We do not show mercy to those who would destroy the Reich. Our duty is to cleanse this land." Dietrich's commands were often carried out with fanatical zeal, and his units gained a reputation for their ruthless efficiency. As the SS grew in power, it attracted officers like Reinhard Heydrich, an SS Gruppenführer who became one of the chief architects of the Holocaust. Heydrich's calculated nature was reflected in a letter he wrote to Himmler. "The Jewish question will be solved through swift and final action. It is imperative that we act without hesitation." Heydrich's role in organizing the Wannsee Conference, where the blueprint for the Holocaust was finalized, solidified his reputation as one of the most dangerous men in Nazi Germany. Further down the SS hierarchy, Sturmbannführers and Hauptsturmführers oversaw smaller units, but were no less implicated in the regime's atrocities. Men like Alois Brunner, a Hauptsturmführer tasked with deporting Jews from occupied countries, took personal pride in their actions. In a rare interview years after the war, Brunner admitted, "I did what was necessary. We were cleaning Europe of a plague." His detachment from the human cost of his actions is a chilling reminder of how Nazi officers justified their roles in the genocide. At the lowest officer ranks, SS Untersturmführers led squads of men in the field, carrying out direct orders with often terrifying enthusiasm. One such officer, Ernst Krauss, who served in an Einsatzgruppen death squad, wrote in his diary during the invasion of the Soviet Union, "Today we cleansed another village of Bolshevik filth. The Jews were first. Their faces haunt me, but this is our task, and it must be done. His words reveal the conflict that some lower-ranking SS officers felt, even as they carried out unspeakable crimes. For the SS man, the equivalent of a private, daily life was one of indoctrination and brutal training. Many were selected for their loyalty to Nazi ideology, and their tasks often involved guard duty at concentration camps or participation in frontline combat. A letter from an SS soldier stationed at Auschwitz to his family reveals the dark normalcy that these men adopted. Life here is hard, but we are serving the Führer. The prisoners, they are not like us. They are less than human. The systematic dehumanization of prisoners made it easier for even the lowest-ranking soldiers to participate in the genocide. The Wehrmacht, tradition in a time of tyranny. While the Wehrmacht, Germany's regular army, was more traditional in structure and ethos than the SS, it was not immune to the moral corruption of the Nazi regime. In the early years of the war, many Wehrmacht officers saw themselves as professionals, defending Germany's national interests. However, as the war progressed, the line between regular military duty and complicity in Nazi crimes became increasingly blurred. At the highest level was the Generalfeldmarschall, a rank reserved for the most senior officers. One of the most famous men to hold this rank was Erwin Rommel, known as the Desert Fox for his campaigns in North Africa. Rommel's letters home offer a glimpse into the mind of a man who, while a brilliant strategist, often felt conflicted about his role in the war. "I serve Germany," he wrote to his wife in 1942, "but I wonder if I am serving the right Germany. This war has become something darker than I imagined." Rommel's later involvement in the July 20th plot to assassinate Hitler would tarnish his once heroic reputation in the eyes of the Nazi leadership. Beneath the Generalfeldmarschall were the Generalobersts and Generalleutnants, officers responsible for commanding corps and divisions. One such officer, Friedrich Paulus, led the Sixth Army during the disastrous Battle of Stalingrad. As the Soviet encirclement tightened around his forces, Paulus recorded in his war diary, "The men are starving, the cold is unbearable, and there is no hope of reinforcements. The Führer's orders are to hold, but I fear we are all doomed." Paulus' eventual surrender marked the first major defeat of the German army, and his decision haunted him for the rest of his life. At the operational level, majors and hauptmanns, captains, led battalions and companies. These officers were often career soldiers who had served in the Reichswehr, the pre-Nazi German army, and were more focused on military tactics than ideology. However, as the war dragged on, even they were drawn into the Nazi orbit. Major Hans von Witzland, who fought on the Eastern Front, wrote in his journal, "We fight not for the Führer, but for survival. The Soviet soldiers are relentless. We are all exhausted, and there is no end in sight." Von Witzland, like many of his comrades, became increasingly disillusioned with the war as the tide turned against Germany. For the junior officers, such as lieutenants and Oberleutnants, the war was often a test of both leadership and endurance. Lieutenant Hans Bauer, a young officer fresh out of the academy, described his experiences during the invasion of France. "The men look to me for orders, but I feel as lost as they do. War is not the glorious thing we were taught it would be. It is chaos, and every day is a struggle to maintain order." Bauer's letters capture the disillusionment that many young officers felt as the realities of modern warfare set in. At the lowest level were the Gefreiters, corporals, and Schutzen, privates, the foot soldiers who made up the bulk of the Wehrmacht. These men were the ones who bore the brunt of combat, often fighting in horrific conditions. Gefreiter Wilhelm Brandt, stationed on the Eastern Front, wrote in a letter to his mother, "The cold is unbearable. We have no food, no ammunition, and the Russians attack every night. I don't know how much longer we can hold out." Brandt's experience was typical of the German soldier on the Eastern Front, where conditions were so brutal that many soldiers simply lost the will to fight. The complicity of the Wehrmacht. While the SS was directly involved in many of the atrocities of the Nazi regime, the Wehrmacht was not entirely innocent. As the war progressed, the Wehrmacht became increasingly involved in the implementation of the Holocaust, particularly on the Eastern Front. Many officers turned a blind eye to the actions of the SS, while others actively participated in the execution of prisoners and civilians. One such example is the infamous Commissar Order, issued by Hitler in 1941, which instructed the Wehrmacht to execute Soviet political commissars captured on the battlefield. Oberst Colonel Wilhelm Keitel was one of the officers who implemented this order, writing in his report, "The commissars are Bolshevik agitators. They must be eliminated without mercy. This is not a war of nations, but a war of ideologies." Keitel's words reflect the growing influence of Nazi ideology within the ranks of the Wehrmacht. In closing, the ranks of Nazi Germany's military and paramilitary organizations were filled with men who, whether through ideology or duty, played a role in the atrocities of the Holocaust and the devastation of World War II. From the highest-ranking generals to the lowest-ranking privates, each man had a part to play in the machinery of death and destruction that the Third Reich unleashed upon the world. Through their words and actions, we gain insight into the minds of those who participated in one of history's darkest chapters. If you're enjoying this story, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating content that educates and empowers. To learn more about South Africa's leading accessibility software and to support our dyslexic-friendly initiative, visit www.polispeaksforyou.co.za. Thank you for watching.